That isn't a line from a Netflix show about Jim Jones's son discussing ChrissyLampkin. It's a voice memo that was leaked without any editing or script, and his words aren't just heartbreaking, they're incriminating. I watched my own father remain silent while she tore us apart. For years, people believed Chrissy was just the ride-or-die fiancé, but behind closed doors, she was allegedly taking late-night calls. She didn't just cheat on my dad, she damaged our family and cheated on all of us. From Cameron when Jim was out collecting checks to support the family, and now the son who has been silent for so long is exposing all of the lies, betrayals, conflicts, and the day he entered and saw something he wasn't meant to. You won't look at Chrissy the same after hearing what he tells next because this isn't reality TV drama anymore. It's real blood, real treachery, and a son finally sharing the narrative his father was too damaged to tell himself. Stay there. He just stood there watching her burn everything down after she broke his heart. It's not a rumor. It's a voice memo. From Jim Jones's kid, and it's currently making the rounds in every group chat from Harlem to Chrissy Lampkin, who was praised for years as the ride-or-die lady who waited, fought, and stayed in Houston, was actually a different Chrissy behind the designer shoes, VH1 edits, and staged reunions. She allegedly left broken pieces everywhere she went, including inside her own house. And now that house of secrets is exploding because Jim Jones's son, the one person who never spoke, is at last speaking. And he's not just talking, he's exposing. Let's go back in time. We all recall the silent rumors that had heard rumors for years that Chrissy was emotionally involved with Cameron Jim's close friend Dipset's brother, family by loyalty rather than blood. At the time, folks assumed it was simply a messy rumor or blog post. But what if I told you that not only were those rumors are true, but Jim's own son was in the front row when the fall occurred? I was only a teenager, but I wasn't a moron. I saw the DMs and how Jim stared at her when he learned, but he remained as if nothing had happened. This isn't a fan theory anymore. It's firsthand. Evidence from someone who had every reason to remain silent but chose to speak up, and now the internet is in flames. The leak began with a mysterious Instagram story with white letters on a black background that said, "Have you ever had to pretend everything's fine knowing the lady who ruined your childhood is sitting in the adjacent room?" With no names, tags, or context. But fans knew, and within 15 minutes, Chrissy was trending once more. But not for a fresh reality TV appearance, but rather for what people are referring to as the betrayal of the Harlem house. And when, her sought to get explanation. But they were struck with the voice memo, which was a 47-second recording without any music, filters, or edits. It showed a grown man facing the issues that influenced his early years. My dad isn't perfect, but the way she played him still baffles me as to how he was able to forgive. So in my opinion, he simply gave up. To fully comprehend the significance of this story, we must revisit the initial controversy. According to family sources, the alleged affair with Cameron wasn't a one-night blunder. We believed that the 2-year emotional roller coaster, which included late-night FaceTime chats, covert hotel meetings while Jim was on tour, and a string of purportedly solo work trips that Chrissy took, always in the same places as Cam, were phony. Additionally, until an unnamed former Chrissy assistant came out, let's call her Kesha. Kesha worked for Chrissy from 2014 to 2016, and she claims to be easygoing. She would say she was heading to Los Angeles to assist with a shoot or conduct fittings, but I always had to arrange for her flights to Jim and Chrissy or Jim and Chrissy. And according to Kesha, one night Jim flew out early to surprise Chrissy in Atlanta and walked into her. I didn't give it much thought until I heard them fighting on the phone. I'm not sure what happened after I discovered Cam's wallet on the nightstand. Not Cam, just the wallet, and Chrissy standing there in shock and silence. All I know is that she urged me to cancel everything, and the next day she was sobbing and trembling before leaving the hotel. Fans were not shocked when this latest round of accusations surfaced. In fact, many claim to have seen the warning signals all along. Here are a few fictitious but eerily realistic-sounding tweet highlights from Twitter X, not Jim's son expressing what. Since 2012, we've all been thinking that Chrissy Ben was acting odd when she dipped at baby mama. She played the long game, received the ring, and still emotionally dipped on him. Jim deserved a more honest conversation with Ray, and I recall that LHNY reunion from the way she looked at. When Cam unexpectedly stepped up, he didn't have a welcoming appearance, and suddenly the internet became fixated on what actually transpired at the Jones home. However, the story doesn't finish there, as Jim's son's subsequent revelations took this controversy from in the second section of his voice memo. That was leaked. Jim's son describes a recollection that is so painful and personal that it is causing a cultural shockwave. I was 14 years old when I heard them fight through the walls, and while I didn't fully get it, I knew it was. My father said, "You could have told me you didn't have to humiliate me like this," in reference to him and Cam. And she responded, "Jimmy, you were never truly here, and I needed something real." That sentence, "You were never truly present." After that night, everything changed. Chrissy stopped sharing family photos, Jim appeared aloof, and the chemistry fans once froze because, whether genuine or not, that is a wound that will always be scarred. In retrospect, admirers are stating that the warning signals were all there. We simply didn't want to believe them. One commentator stated that the most harmful falsehoods are those we tell ourselves to maintain a positive online persona, and Jim, he never. Despite Cam sneaking Chrissy in a song that inexplicably vanished from streaming the week after it was released, Jim's son never publicly addressed the Cameron rumors. Therefore, it is still unclear why he chose this particular moment to finally speak. And what does this imply that the Jones family's future is going to take a turn for the worse? The following voice memo reveals something even more sinister, which could help to explain why Jim never stood up for himself, why Chrissy was never fired, and why the people closest to them. The next voice memo, which was posted anonymously but clearly in Jim's son's voice, landed at 2:04 a.m. and explained why the individuals closest to them had remained silent up until this point, altered everything. I didn't say anything before because I didn't want to offend my father, but seeing him deteriorate every year as she grinned for the cameras as if nothing had ever happened. Nah, that's manipulation, not love. Let it breathe. It's not just about adultery anymore. It's about what happens after betrayal. The quiet, the gaslighting, and the illusion. Because Jim was reportedly flipping tables for drama, while Chrissy was out here providing relationship advice on reality shows. I used to beg him, "Why don't you leave?" as he was silently unraveling behind closed doors, and guess who was watching the entire time? He would just respond, "She's all I got, man." That resonated with me. People constantly asked why Jim had never married Chrissy after all those years. Was it cold feet, the industry, his attitude, or something deeper like fear that if he let go, he'd lose? He truly thought that she was his only option. Jim's son is exposing himself now, not for influence or attention, but for release. And let's chat. He was not only a partner, but the only structure he had ever known, no matter how toxic. Now picture growing up in that and seeing your father seek serenity while drowning in chaos. About this following section, as this is where the tale changes. One of the most outrageous allegations was made in a private direct message that was posted to a gossip website by a former Jones family employee. The message said she had access to everything, including bank information, passwords, and contracts. There were occasions when Jimmy would arrive to venues and be informed that the event was canceled, only to discover later that Chrissy had pulled the plug behind his back. If that is accurate, she would intercept his calls, delete texts, and cancel meetings without alerting him. According to all the allegations, we're discussing emotional control on a whole new level. This isn't just betrayal, it's chess move by move, piece by piece, until the board is down to only one king, who is too exhausted to resist another supposedly leaked email from Chrissy's publicist to please do not bring up the Cameron rumors. During the sit-down, the television producer reads, Chrissy is willing to talk about how her relationship with Jim has changed, but the Cam narrative is off limits. Why would it be off limits if it was never true? Why avoid a ghost? The craziest all horror part is that Cameron is now making fun of himself on his Instagram story. He shared a video of himself from an old Dipset music video standing next to Chrissy with the comment, "Some memories." Ghost was real, wearing pink mink and grinning, mature similarly to wine. There was no background information, no follow-up, just smoke, but the internet went viral in a matter of hours, and people began assembling old videos, assembling timelines, analyzing interviews, and comparing lyrics. Some women are loyal to the spotlight, not the man holding it. Cam said in a 2016 interview when asked about women in the industry. Fans of Chrissy are now bringing up this comment, which is not good for Chrissy. Many now think that was a direct attack at Chrissy, and if it was, she never retaliated or disputed it. She simply turned around. Now that Jim's son is speaking up, a new story is emerging that positions Chrissy as the antagonist, rather than in the last few seconds of the voice recording. The son states, "She was toxic to us, to the whole family. And right there, everything clicked. This isn't just a relationship scandal. This is a family collapse. The victim was not only toxic to him, not to mention that Chrissy proposed to Jim on national television, stealing the show and declaring, 'I got this,' after years of emotional deterioration, veiled in luxury clothing and Instagram filters. Fans are now wondering if it was just another tactic to manipulate the story and give the impression that she was the glue while subtly tugging the strings behind the scenes, even if at the time it was hailed as an empowering, legendary boss move. Didn't accept the proposal right away. We could see the tension, but we didn't realize the full context until now. It wasn't cold feet, but rather internal conflict. It was a guy divided between loyalty and love, and a son watching as everything fell apart, and it got even darker. Third audio, which was allegedly leaked anonymously once more, seems to be a recorded phone conversation between Jim and an unnamed male buddy. It is grainy, but it is still audible enough to hear Jim say, "She don't even look at me the same." While all of this is happening in public, Chrissy is silent. No tweets, no Instagram posts, no denial, no damage control. And you know what that means. I'm in her cot feeling like a ghost, like I'm in her way. Let that sink in. Without a doubt, Chrissy is skilled at spinning a tale. She has done it for 10 years, from hip-hop and romance to fashion deals, and she always manages to make herself appear like the misunderstood queen. However, this time the story is becoming away from her, and more claimed insiders are coming up today, including former co-workers of VH1 stylists, drivers, and even old acquaintances. One DM claims that she always had a fallback plan in case she ever had to leave, and that she had leverage. Jimmy used to remark, "If she leaves, I'll lose more than just love. I'll lose everything." Imagine living like that. This is where it all ties Jim. He wasn't paranoid, but he was tired. After 2015, Jones's career slowed down. He stopped touring and dropping songs as frequently, and in his final candid interview about love, he stated, "Sometimes you stay because walking away seems like failure even when you know it's already fans are divided." Some claim Jim's son is simply airing dirty, but that sentence sounds different now, doesn't it? Because it describes a dad who lingered too long in a burning house and a son who watched the fire helplessly holding the ashes. Others suggest that he needed to recover his truth in order to get attention, but one thing is certain: Chrissy's reputation as the devoted, drama-fighting fiancé is crumbling, and below it lies a decade of secrets that could potentially change all we know. We assumed that we already knew what would happen next: lawsuits, apologies, and the inevitable damage control. But first, we must discuss the one thing that nobody anticipated: Jim's plans now that everything is out. Believe me when I say that you will hear what he has been holding on to. When the truth finally comes to light, you'll see that this was never just about love, but also about survival, since some people weren't merely surviving a toxic relationship. Rather, they were ensnared in a performance or a long-running show where JimJones, according to recent insider reports, was prepared to depart several times, but every time he came close, something would inexplicably leak a private conversation, hitting the blogs with a fight. The agony was real, but the smiles were staged, would be captured on camera, an old feud would reappear, and guess who always had the ideal counter-narrative ready? According to a former stylist who worked with both of them, if Jim attempted to change the subject, she would be the victim in public. She was an expert at it. Sobbing, Jim was quietly holding it together backstage at a reunion special when Chrissy entered and whispered, "Don't forget what's on the line." He sat down and said, "Don't forget what's on the line." Never said a word. Again. What does it mean? Was money at stake? Were secrets at stake? Or was Chrissy clinging to something even more potent, a version of Jim that the world would never be able to see? But now, according to Chrissy had a contingency plan the entire time. according to two reputed industry insiders, one from a former reality TV production team and another claiming to be a talent management. A second life isn't romantic, but it's strategic, and she allegedly met privately with executives about starting her own show, one in which she would be the brand, the star, and the boss. And if Jim didn't cooperate, she would actually know where the skeletons were buried. Figuratively speaking, all of this is obviously alleged, but the date seems a bit too clear, particularly when you take into account the most recent bombshell, an anonymous audio recording. That was released 3 nights ago. The voice is severely distorted, but the content is perfectly clear. Clearly, I warned her, I'm done if you leak that tape. You're done, baby, she said. I realized then that I was merely a prop because the internet is certain that Jim's voice is on the audio. The purportedly lost video from that notorious 2014 hotel incident in Atlanta, which, if fans' theories are correct, wasn't actually lost, but rather concealed by Chrissy leverage once more. However, Jim's son just shared another video. An old family photo was cut in two down the center, with Jim on one side and the other side gone. The caption said, "Sometimes peace comes with loss." Fans are going crazy, DMing, tagging, and reposting in an attempt to determine whether this is Jim and Chrissy are officially done. But the problem is that insiders are now claiming that Chrissy's next move is already underway. She is reportedly looking at a new deal, a tell-all documentary, in which she will have complete control over the story. And ultimately people aren't buying that. Not after hearing what Jim's son had to say. Not after seeing years of silence now. Break down into pandemonium. And particularly not after what happened next because now Mama Jones does. Yeah. If speaking her truth isn't damage control, I don't know what is. I've been told y'all she wasn't right, but y'all said I was crazy. I ain't crazy. I just saw the devil behind the diamonds. She goes off you. Mama Jones, Jim's outspoken mother, says in a surprise interview clip from a forthcoming podcast episode, "Have you ever seen your child fall in love with a storm? He was dancing in the lightning, believing it was a light show, but the storm didn't stop until he was too exhausted to run." Mama Jones doesn't hold back when she claims that Chrissy cut Jim off from his family. For fans who are aware of Jim's past, the revelation that Chrissy threw away letters that Jim wrote to his late friend Stack Bundles was particularly painful. As a result, we now have Jim's son, Mama Jones, a purported former employee, and the internet is demanding answers, and hashtags like Chewy Free Jim Jones, Chin Chrissy Exposed, and Family First are exploding. Anonymous insiders are all repeating the same chorus: Jim is just a faithful heart trapped in chains, and Chrissy wasn't the victim, she was the puppeteer. Even celebrities are commenting in on the viral timelines. Fan-made timelines, charts, receipts, and detailed breakdowns of when the relationship collapsed and why Jim remained mute. Rapper Mayo tweeted, "Ain't no real one going to let his family drown in silence, salute the son," for stepping up. Legendary producer Swizz Beatz liked a fan remark that stated, "Jim deserved more than staged love and real pain, so what?" while reality actress Kim Bella commented on a Shade Room post. Now, according to some insiders, Jim is already in negotiations to release his own message, potentially in the form of music. Rumor has it that he has produced a whole EP called Red Flags and Roses, which is titled All Pain and Truth, All Him. He intends to release it without any prior notice, promotion, or announcement, just unadulterated feelings straight to streaming. And the streets are prepared because, for the first time, Jim may be finished portraying the quiet ride or die character, ready to share his story in its entirety, uncut, uncensored, and unchained. Chrissy has not yet made a statement, but her team is reportedly drafting a formal reaction, which may include a lawsuit, a documentary, or just another passive-aggressive Instagram post. We'll tell, but there's little doubt that the house of cards is collapsing. What appeared to be black love goals on television is being revealed as emotional warfare behind the scenes, and the characters are no longer hiding. This tale isn't finished, in fact. We are waiting to see what else they have been concealing, because if Chrissy could have planned all of this in plain sight, it's only just begun. For every silence that has been broken, another one is revealing another truth that is squeezing its way out. What else did she conceal behind the scenes? What more did Jim give up out of loyalty? And most importantly, what would you do if you discovered that the love you had based your entire life on was never about love at all? Was it about celebrity, control, or something else entirely? We need to speak about this, so please share your ideas in the comments section below. Is Jim finally waking up? Is the son courageous or messy? Is Chrissy the villain or a victim of spin? Please hit the like button. You already know that the next episode of this story will be much more bizarre. There will be more audio, leaked texts, and revealed secrets. So if you thought this was explosive, wait a little while more. Subscribe for the next drop and turn on your notifications. Stay tuned to discover what comes next. Now that the mask has been off and the truth is showing, what do you think Chrissy ever truly did for Jim? Or was this all just a long, agonizing performance? Or did Jim's kid just express what we've all been wondering? Please share your thoughts, opinions, and conspiracy theories in the comments section below. Do you think Mama Jones will finally speak out? Is this the conclusion of a toxic love story or the start of a long overdue reckoning? Music, and should Chrissy even have a forum to defend herself? If you thought anything that was mentioned was even somewhat true, please subscribe if you're I'm sick of lies and eager for more. That bell was struck by unvarnished reality because the upcoming leak could potentially shake the internet once more, and have faith that you won't desire to overlook what's about to happen. This isn't just drama, is now a full-blown reception revolution remains bound in